what we've done about 5 years ago, we created the world's first Bitcoin retirement plan. So we allowed the ability for folks to open, fund, and trade an account with cryptocurrency for their IRA, Roth IRA, traditional, SEP, simple, all the different types. And that's really what we've been doing now since then for 5 years. And we've done a couple $2 billion now of transactions for folks in their retirement accounts.
Hi, and welcome to the Awakening series. My name is Kimberly Archuleta. Today we have an amazing guest. His name is Kline. Oh my goodness, talk about Bitcoin and everything else. This gentleman has a wonderful company, been on Forbes. I mean, you name it. He's awesome. We also went to the same college. So yeah, Kline, welcome. Thank you so much. As you know, we bring brilliant minds together. So again, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly, and Go Buffs.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Chris, I will get right to it. I know you're a busy man. If you don't mind giving us some insight on your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I remember thinking about this before we got together because everybody's journey is pretty intimate. It's pretty unique. For myself, 10 years ago, I think 11 maybe this year, might be 11. I packed a one-way ticket in a suitcase and left Colorado and ran off to California with not much of a plan, other than I wanted to do something different. I just wanted to take on the world. I was in my mid to late 20s, and I wanted to take on the world the way that I wanted to do it. And in fact, I actually lived in a motel for 9 months while I built my first company, and not like a Holiday Inn Express. It was one of those that you see off the side of a freeway kind of situation.
Wow.
But it kept me focused. And I would go back if I could when I'm trying to build something great or otherwise. I try to put myself back in that mentality of what would he have done here? Now, obviously, he's young, he's naive, he has no idea of things, but he had a purity of what he wanted to do with his life. And so that's kind of how I measure my entrepreneurship.
I love that. That's amazing. So what are you doing today? Give our audience a little insight on what exactly it is that you're doing.
Well, I'm not living in a motel anymore. That's a win. No, what we've done about 5 years ago, we created the world's first Bitcoin retirement plan. So we allowed the ability for folks to open, fund, and trade an account with cryptocurrency for their IRA, Roth IRA, traditional, SEP, simple, all the different types. And that's really what we've been doing now since then for 5 years. And we've done a couple $2 billion now of transactions for folks in their retirement accounts.
That's amazing. If you can give us some insight on what led you to start the Bitcoin IRA and what is your entrepreneurial story in regards to Bitcoin itself? Like what led you
to
it?
It started with a challenge. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would agree that there's an energy that comes with a challenge that you kind of can't step down from. It's something that you want to do. And so it was 2015, just like I just got done. We were doing our year-end planning. And somebody had brought up, we were doing a lot of things with IRAs. I've been into IRAs for a long time, even since I was young. I don't know. It was a niche I found a specialty in. But there was somebody that brought up in the room, could we do this with Bitcoin? And my spidey senses went going crazy. For the next year, we researched, developed, and found the solution that could make that a possibility. And so that's kind of the journey that we went through. I remember one of the funny stories, and for young entrepreneurs, or even older, just new ones in general, you're going to have to spend on things that you don't expect. And one of the things was the URL. And there was an auction for the URL of bitcoinira.com. And I remember saying passively, like, well, okay, we'll find another name. And looking back, I'm so thrilled that we won that auction because it's a powerful name. It's a powerful brand. So trust your instincts and trust those that are around you. Part of my strength has been the people that I've surrounded myself with. I kind of hooked in while I lived in the dismal motel. I partnered with the creme de la creme caviar of the best mentors I could imagine. And they had their own specialties. And together we cultivated a partnership that couldn't live without these guys at this point. And girls, actually. It's a great board that we have. What
is the secret to obtaining an amazing mentor?
It's at least, I mean, they say success is 50% hard work, 50% luck, or whatever percentage you want to make. I think part of it you got to acknowledge is serendipity, being in the right place at the right time. But when you do see that moment arise, what I think gave me the strength to get to where I'm at and the way that my partners look at me is I wasn't after the almighty buck at the beginning. And I know that's really hard to do, right? We have families, we have obligations, we have rents, we have bills. And if you can find a way to manage that, not saying live in a motel, it's kind of what I did, but when you don't ask for anything at the beginning, that's when you can get the most at the end. And especially in a partnership like that, is that let's all bring our talents to the table and let's see what we got.
That's amazing. What are cryptocurrencies, just for the newbies, and what should people know about them?
What are cryptocurrencies? So cryptocurrency started with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a potential alternative to the currency we know today. And money's been changing since we were kids. And it was been changing since the cavemen. It was started as barter trade, worked its way into silver coins, gold coins, went to paper money. And now there's this digital money concept. And we're not actually that far off from it. We do Venmo, we do debit things, all kinds of things online. But what's behind them is a bank. And what's behind crypto is the blockchain. And the blockchain is what basically allows us to, I can send you money and without knowing any other details other than an address you give me, kind of like me sending you an email. And I can securely do that across a consensus-driven process without banks involved. And on a currency, this is the really pivotal point, is on a currency that is limited in nature, meaning there will only be 21 million Bitcoin. Yes, there will be a lot of other crypto, but most of them have fixed supplies. And we just came out this past week with another round of inflation. And regardless of what that percentage point says, average Americans feel it at the pump. They feel it at higher education. They feel it at you name it, whatever bill they have. I saw something recently here in Los Angeles that gas bills have just gone insane in the last 90 days. And this is the impact that we feel, whether you call it inflation or not. It's a pinch on the middle class. So cryptocurrency is this unique space. It's a new part of our economy, and you have to accept the newness of it. And that comes with volatility and a lot of education. But most experts that have now touched it, and some, I'd say those are senators, you've got CEOs of businesses, you've got visionaries, have touched it and said, you know what, this is going to change the world. And it's a lot like what happened when people looked at the internet and what it could do in the next 5-10 years. And now we can't live without it, right?
Absolutely. Another question for you, again, for people that may not be familiar with crypto, what are the differences between some of the more popular digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Utility. What is it going to be used for? So I have a 7-year-old daughter, and when she was 4, she recorded something that I've used actually in a few like public speaking events before COVID. And it's this 4-year-old little girl, and she's got these 4 coins. One's Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. And she was taught one-word associations. So Bitcoin is money, Ripple is banks, Ethereum is contracts, and Litecoin is shopping, which she loves to do with her mom. And so it's that simple is at the beginning, what is this coin supposed to do? What is it supposed to solve? Ethereum, for example, why she says contracts, is we have a series of contracts in our life. Some are written and some are otherwise. For example, when you go to a new doctor, you have to give them your past medical records. And what we normally do is we go to that new doctor, we spend 30 minutes filling out a clipboard full of a bunch of stuff we don't remember that goes back behind the desk that somebody's got to pull out. It's inefficient. Or I could release a smart contract of my personal medical data to that doctor and have complete control of when he has access and when he doesn't have access. And that's kind of what's happening in our society today is people are they're empowering themselves a lot around things that they probably didn't empower themselves about before.
That's beautiful. I love that idea. And your daughter's brilliant.
I'll send you the video.
I need to see that. Absolutely.
It's pretty good. She's a poor little girl. And the marketing team took her upstairs and put her in the studio. And the outtakes are actually better than the finished product because you got a 4-year-old and she's like, where's dad? Where's because we did it together, the game of the coins.
Literally priceless. Talk about priceless. There is a lot of talk about cryptocurrencies being a direct threat to the dollar. Do you feel that's true?
That's a big word. Threat's a big word. I think it's a competitor. Mm-hmm. And just like every other currency in the world today is a competitor. The strength of your economy is a balance of payments. It used to be back when you look at mercantilism, it was just basically debits versus credits. So if you had a deficit, and we've heard since we were kids about deficits, right? I mean, the deficit's going up, it's going up, it's going. Obviously, the only thing that thing does is go up. And then in addition to it, you have now debts, you have treasury bills, you have other things, and currency has not been treated the way that I think it wanted to be treated. The concept of what is fiat means that there's no backing to it. And it's kind of funny because most people will say, well, there's no backing to crypto. Well, actually, with the US dollar, last time we had true backing that we can understand as individual citizens was the gold standard in 1971. Nixon took us off the gold standard. It's called the Nixon shock. And at that point, you couldn't convert your money for gold or directly. And that meant that they would float in value separate from each other. Used to be pinged. And so once you have that go away, now you're in what's called fiat. And then it's about managing your currency. And this has happened before. This isn't like an anomaly in America. In 1929 in Germany, called the Weimar Republic, they had a point in time where the hyperinflation, the cost of goods was going so crazy. A man would take a wheelbarrow down, and this is a true story. There's like a picture of it somewhere. Take a wheelbarrow, and it was full of German marks. And he would go to the grocery store to get groceries. And the grocer would look at him and say, I can't take those. Those are useless. They would dump the marks into the gutter or the street and take the wheelbarrow as payment for those groceries because that had more value than what had happened. And it was because this is 1929. If you know a little bit about history, the Depression was precursor by things globally. And then it became kind of a global event after the United States crashed with stock speculation. But at that moment in time, Germany was trying to work their way out of a bad economy. Their industry was bad. What industry was going down, their production was going down. This is 100 years ago compared to where we're at today. But the same principles apply. You can't have money that just kind of sits in a situation where it has artificial value based upon how much is created. And since I graduated college right around when I call it the houses burned, which was the fall of housing or the correction of housing in 2008. Since that year, the supply of US dollars has increased 1x every year for the last 10 years. So now it's 10x the supply. And there's a point in time where that doesn't work anymore. And when that doesn't work, that's when you see things like what happened in Germany. And more recently, Venezuela. I was at the Bitcoin conference in Miami last June, and they had a giant dumpster full of Venezuelan Bolivar. And nobody stole any other than maybe one or two as a souvenir because it has no value, right? It has zero value and they've destroyed it there. And that in Turkey, what's happening in Turkey right now are all examples of what goes wrong when you mismanage your currency. And right now it's a question mark. Are we managing our currency well? And some people would say yes, some people would say otherwise. Bitcoin buyers, the people that are looking at crypto, it's finite. Those things are saying, you know what? Maybe a little hedge against this might be a good idea.
Why would somebody invest in crypto in regards to their retirement?
Well, most folks see their retirement in elongated years. So 3 to 5 years minimum. Myself personally, probably going to hold the Bitcoin in my retirement for 10, 15, 20, maybe beyond that. So there's a longer time period that they're looking at it. So when you're in doubt about Bitcoin, so if you're looking at a day chart of Bitcoin, you're going to see aberrations. It looks like a heartbeat monitor. But when you zoom out, take the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year chart, you can see what generally is happening is the principles of a finite asset versus an infinite asset, growing popularity and other things generally drives this thing in the positive direction, even though it has its aberrations over time.
Interesting. Okay. Would you say cryptocurrencies are the new hedge against inflation and replacing gold, kind of going back to your inflation conversation?
That's a good question. So is inflation a driving factor for cryptocurrency investment? Yes, actually, our recent survey at the end of last year, there was 25%. So 1 out of 4 respondents said interest or inflation is one of the reasons why they're looking at crypto in their IRAs. So has it replaced gold? I don't know. We have a tool called digital gold on our platform. So you can trade between Bitcoin and gold, real physical held at a depository whenever you'd like to. And buyers, if they're running towards yield, then they're gonna see Bitcoin as an added advantage against gold. But a mix of the two is kind of critical. It's a modern portfolio theory. Our grandparents used to do stocks, bonds, mutual funds. We do stocks, bonds, mutual funds, alternatives. And that means gold, means Bitcoin, means real estate, means private equity. There's all these other options that are available out there. So as a replacement, I think it's just welcome to the club. and they serve different purposes. One of the things that Bitcoin has over gold is its transportability. I can send you a Bitcoin while we're talking. If I needed to send you a bar, let's see, that'd be like 20 bars of gold, 15 bars of gold, then I'm going to have to go get them. I'm going to have to secure them. I'm going to have to ship them. You're going to have to deliver them. There's going to be signature process. There's going to be insurance process. There's a lot of moving parts to that. So when it comes to utility, like we were talking about earlier, Bitcoin does kind of beat out gold in that regard.
I never thought about it that way, and I love it. But I also love that you have this in the modern portfolio. You have the options. That's brilliant.
Yeah. We took a blockchain and put it over the top of a vault, basically, is what we did.
Wow. So how big of a role do you think that tax benefits of self-directed IRAs play in people who are choosing to invest in crypto?
If you believe in crypto, or if you're even on the 3 to 5 year planning period, what better place than to have in a tax advantage setting? So with a traditional IRA, you get to lower your taxes, and then you get, say you buy, sell Bitcoin 1,000 times before you distribute down the road at 70 and a half, right? And that those gains and capital gains are huge. With Roths, which is a different setting, you don't get the tax advantage on the front side, but you get tax-free growth on the backside. So you can have something that's worth $5,000 that then becomes worth $500,000. And when you distribute it down the road, you're going to have no taxes on it because you paid them on the front side. What an awesome tool for an asset class, especially it's outperformed every asset class for the last 5 years. And it's not really going anywhere. The Goldman Sachs is supposed to be at 100,000 or more in the next 3 to 5 years. So there, you know, it's something that you're probably expecting to go up. Tax advantage is huge in those settings, because I've owned crypto on both sides of it. Say that you bought Bitcoin in 2017 on like a Coinbase account and it was $500 and now it's $15,000, $20,000. Once you sell that, that's a capital gain. And right now, capital gains have been split between long-term and short-term at certain percentages based upon certain settings. I'm not a tax advisor, but there's some parameters. And it's one of the places that are being targeted for increases in taxes to pay for all the bills that the government is writing right now. So anything you can do to shelter yourself for long-term investments is a smart move.
Absolutely. This is one of the last few questions. I guess, would you say that Bitcoin is helping Americans, or I should say crypto is helping Americans retire faster?
I hope so, because 10 years ago, when I got off that fresh flight and one-way ticket, one of the things we built was our mission was to help more Americans retire. We have a retirement crisis. We have to be frank about it. You have a very big gap between baby boomers, Gen X, and then millennials, and then what's next as far as accumulation of wealth at a certain time period. I'm of a generation, let's see, I was 18 when the towers fell. I came out of college when the house was burned, and I'm a business owner when Corona happens. So I got triple whammy. It's not the same. And pricing going up, just look at housing alone comparatively to what our parents and grandparents, the markets they got to buy in. So hopefully crypto is something that people can use as a piece of their retirement to keep up and then maybe protect themselves long term. Most of the time what I see is our clients get in and they get educated, and they are probably more powerful than me because they've done their homework, they have an opinion, and they want to win. And it's a really cool industry to work in, and you see so much transition happening between traditional and crypto finance that it's here to stay. It's going to be a part of our fabric of our lives. It's going to be as common as the old cup of Joe very soon, probably sooner than we all expect.
That's so exciting. I'm so in like with all of this that we're doing. I'm so thankful that you started this company, that you're helping your fellow Americans retire sooner. It's huge, and I do appreciate all of your time and your insight. This is a fun question for you. What would you, as far as like if you were younger, when you were younger, what type of advice would you give yourself pre-Bitcoin?
Pre-Bitcoin. So we'll go like 20s.
Yeah.
Other than buy Bitcoin, if I could do that. I think the biggest thing for me is EQ is huge. What you commonly see with entrepreneurs, myself included, is we're really wicked smart, because you kind of have to be sharp, smart, looking at things in a lot of directions, be able to see that 30,000 foot view. But if you can't manifest relationships that are mutually beneficial, and you can't inspire people to want to go across that ledge with you and take that next leap, which is what imagine being in crypto, the challenges I've had to keep my people engaged over the years. EQ is huge. So focus on it early. I learned it later and I'm happy with myself now, but I look back and I'm like, man, I could have handled that way better if I just had a little bit of emotional sensitivity. And that's hard. When you're wicked smart, it's hard. I know, I was there. I'm sure you were too, Kimberly, where you're told your whole life, look, you're a genius. And then when somebody tells you you're not, that's the first test of your EQ. And then what you do with it is, how do you use that powerful tool to inspire others? Inspiration is leadership. At the end of the day, managers can tell you what to do. Leaders are going to get you to follow them wherever the hell they're headed. And that changes all the time. So you got to really, people are the most powerful thing. You cannot do this alone if you want to get to the next levels. Yes, you can run a business by yourself out of your house and do X. But if you want to really test the levels of entrepreneurship, people are fundamental to your success, and they're not you, they're other people.
I completely agree. Each of my companies have had the most amazing support, and even exiting, I've had support. So it's in all aspects. You don't know everything, although you may be brilliant. You don't know everything about everything. So yes, like you said, having those mentors and sticking close to them and picking their brain and not being afraid to ask the questions, the weird, odd questions. Why not? It's so important. No, I love that. Thank you so much for that insight. Another question for you: where can we find you? Like, what if somebody wants to, get involved and be a part of your company and invest? What can they do, and where can they find you?
Well, they can go online to bitcoinira.com and get started right there. Or they can also download the app on their phone, iOS, Apple, or Android, Google Play Store. So you can go there and just search Bitcoin IRA. It's an egg. It's your nest egg, which it's orange with a Bitcoin symbol. And then once you're there, you're going to get access to a lot of knowledge. You're going to get access to a person, which I think is kind of huge. Most of our marketplace looks at the automation of crypto and assumes that people just want to do it on their own. But when you're talking about your retirement or even just your first time in crypto, to have somebody to ask a few questions of that's been there plenty of times before is pretty cool. And then you get to decide exactly what you want to do. Do I want to start an IRA? Do I want to roll over a portion of an existing IRA or a 401k from an old job? All those options are available to you on our platform. And we take an education first approach. Everybody in crypto that has made it through the years does the same thing. Because if we're so obtuse to think that people don't need to learn about crypto, then we're not in the right market. This is a brand new technology. And that's why I love doing these types of calls with people like you, Kimberly, is I hope that the message gets out, and then the people that are listening have a tool to help the next person that asks them about crypto. That's really what we have to do, is we got to pay that knowledge forward for mass adoption of cryptocurrency.
Absolutely, especially younger folks, to teach our kids and our grandkids whenever we have them one day. But yeah, the generations that are coming too, we have to keep them abreast of the new technologies and like you did with your daughter, your brilliant daughter, like those type of scenarios and activities are so important.
Well, what's really cool is I actually ordered for Christmas a bunch of, that Scholastic book fair?
Yes.
That used to come through when we were kids. Well, now they have like the online version because of post-COVID. And so there was a book about Bitcoin, and it was for second graders. And I was like, this is awesome. Because I went to her preschool and I presented what money was about because her preschool teacher asked me to come. And so I went, and I had one of them dress up as a caveman, another one dressed up as a Roman soldier, another one as just regular day today, and then an astronaut. And I had them go to Isabella's store. Like, imagine that Isabella's store to buy apples, fruit. There was little things, and then how they paid. And that was how I kind of showed them, like, the caveman came in with a rubber chicken and a rock and tried to negotiate a barter. This Roman soldier came with gold and silver coins. Today, the person came in with $20, and then the future was somebody coming with a Bitcoin. And I don't know if they got it, but I tried. I did what I could. But this book, I got it finally. And honestly, I'm thinking about sending it to all my employees, all my partners, all my investors, all of my clients. Like, it nails it in such an easy way, of the way it explains and it's the good, the bad, the Bitcoin. If you want to look it up, I have nothing to do with it, but I love the book. So if you want to learn a little bit.
Yeah, I love this. I'm so going to put it on the description or below Thank you. I will buy that for my son. He's 3, right? So it's
Yeah.
never
It took a while to get it just because the supply chain stuff right now with those books. I ordered them in October. I got them right after Christmas. So, but if you can find good, bad Bitcoin in like paperback, it looks like a kid's book. It's about this thin. It's perfect.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your time today. Thank you for your insight. You are truly a brilliant mind. I'm so happy that we had you on the show. Thank you so much.